Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at the whole picture when it comes to managing depression, starting with how to build a strong preventative foundation with daily habits and going all the way to the new frontiers of treatment.
57%. What if I told you that you could cut your risk of depression by that much? And look, that's not some clickbait number. It's the result of a major scientific study into something surprisingly simple, our daily habits.
We're talking about a huge study here, 9 years long, and it found that the choices we make every single day are this incredibly powerful tool for our mental well-being. And get this holds true even if you have a genetic predisposition to depression.
All right, so what are these habits? Let's get into it. You can think of these as the building blocks for, like your mental armor against depression.
Okay, first up, and this one is the single biggest game changer, sleep. Just aiming for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep a night can lower your risk by a staggering 22%. It's literally a fundamental reset for your brain and your mood.
Right behind sleep is something that's probably not a surprise: avoiding tobacco. Never smoking is tied to a 20% decreased risk, and that's likely because tobacco can mess with your brain chemistry in ways that really contribute to depressive symptoms.
In this one, it just shows you how much community matters. Keeping those social connections strong isn't just a nice to have. The data shows it can slash your risk by 18%. It turns out we really are wired to be social creatures.
So here's the big takeaway. While sleep and not smoking pack the biggest punch on their own, it's really about combining all 7 of these habits to build the strongest defense. Regular exercise, a healthy diet, moderate alcohol intake, each one adds another protective layer to that mental armor.
But, prevention isn't always possible. For a lot of people, depression is already a part of their life. So what do you do when you're in the thick of it? Let's talk about building a practical toolkit for getting through those really tough days.
Here are 6 really practical steps based on NHS guidance for when you're feeling low. It's all about fighting that urge to just withdraw, staying in touch with people even when you don't feel like it. It's about moving your body, even if it's just for a short walk. And it's about keeping some structure with a healthy diet and a regular routine, which can be so grounding when everything else feels chaotic.
Okay, but sometimes those self-help tools just aren't enough. And that's where professional therapy comes in, offering a really structured blueprint for change. One of the most common, most studied approaches is what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
The whole idea behind CBT is actually pretty simple, but it's also, it's really profound. It's not the things that happen to us that make us feel a certain way. It's our thoughts about those things. By learning how our thoughts, feelings, and actions are all connected, we can start to get a little more control over that whole cycle.
Now, this image here is a fantastic visual of a core idea in CBT. It's this feedback loop that can keep us feeling stuck. See how it goes from a thought to a feeling to an action, and then right back around to reinforcing that first thought? Let's use a real example to make this super clear. Okay, so let's walk through this. It can start with just one thought. I feel way too awful to go to therapy today. That thought triggers a feeling, right? Maybe hopelessness or just exhaustion. And that feeling leads to an action. You cancel your appointment. And the result? Well, now you feel even more isolated, even more depressed, which just proves that first thought right. CBT is all about learning how to spot and break these kinds of cycles.
Right. So for a lot of people, depression isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It can come back. And that's why understanding the long-term strategies for staying well is absolutely critical. It's really about playing the long game.
When we talk about long-term treatment, it's super important to know the difference between these 2 phases. Think of it like this. Continuation therapy is like standing over a campfire after you've doused it, making absolutely sure every last ember is out. But maintenance therapy, that's like clearing away all the dry leaves and brush from around the campsite to prevent a new fire from ever starting in the first place.
And when it comes to medication during that maintenance phase, there's a really important principle that experts all agree on. And it's summed up perfectly in this quote: "The dose that got you better keeps you better." Basically, all the research shows that if you lower the dose that helped you get well in the first place, you seriously increase the risk of things coming back.
All right, for our final section, let's look ahead. Let's talk about the cutting edge of treatment and see how science is giving new hope to people, especially for those who have what's called treatment-resistant depression. So, a really interesting recent study compared 2 different forms of ketamine-based treatments. And what they were looking at was durability, which is just a fancy way of saying how long do the good effects last. And the results were pretty clear. Patients who got IV ketamine could go, on average, almost 19 days between treatments. Compare that to just 11 days for the nasal spray version.
Now, that might not sound like a huge difference, but in the real world, it's massive. Needing fewer treatments means less time off from work, fewer logistical headaches like arranging rides, and just less disruption to your life. It's a really big deal for both doctors and patients when they're figuring out the best path forward.
So there you have it. We've kind of mapped out the whole journey, from the simple habits you can build every day to practical skills for tough moments, all the way through how therapy works and even a peek at the future of medicine. The main point is there are so many options, and there's always a path forward. The real question is just figuring out what that one next step could be on your own journey.